We're in all corners of the world.
This is Chris Fletcher, Master Distiller of Jack Daniel's.
One thing, innovation. You're big into innovation, and I love that. That's one of your many, many strong points. So I was thinking the other day, if there was like a free-range, do what you want, what's kind of a small batch whiskey expression that if you're like, hey, 1, 2, 3, let's just try this. What would be something off the cuff?
What do you mean if it was free range? What do you mean?
Yes, sir.
Maybe a 14-year by hand?
I'm getting fired up here, folks.
I think, first of all, has everybody been able to enjoy some of our new whiskeys that we've done the last few years?
Oh, yeah.
Any favorites?
12-year.
12-year. Yeah, it's pretty hard to beat, I gotta agree. Well, let's use that for an example. 12-year-old in our age-stated lineup that we've started and that we're going to continue. It's not going away. We're planning that to be annual release every single year, probably in the early spring. So set your calendars for February or March coming up next year.
You heard it here, folks.
Yeah, and so we got to get the whiskey in the bottle first. So but it should be early spring, and I know a lot of you know the history of this distillery really, really well. So it may not come as a surprise to some of you. But Jack Daniel himself, he had those age-stated expressions, 10 years old, 12 years old. He had a 14, an 18, and a 21-year-old. So when it comes to innovation, it's kind of a couple different things, right? It's really cool to do something that's surprising and it maybe hasn't really been done before. So like when we did our first release of Coy Hill and we had barrels over 150 proof whiskey coming out. I mean, that was unheard of, really, and still has really never been done. But something like our age-shaded lineup, the 10-year-old, 12-year-old, which is beautiful whiskey, that's just about celebrating our past and kind of tipping our hat to Mr. Jack. I mean, if it was good enough for Mr. Jack to do and put 14-year-old Tennessee whiskey in a bottle, you're darn sure we're going to do it again.
I love it. There's so many options out there, especially now. Like you told me, there's been a big resurgence in whiskey making. What would you say to somebody that says, look, I see this store, it says liquor store, don't know what's going on in there, but why with all these choices do I need to pick Jack? What would be something you'd say to that person?
Well, I think our product is unique. I mean, number one, the flavor of our whiskey and what we make.
I'll attest to that.
Yeah, whether it's something, a bottle of Old No. 7 that is going to be consistent, it's going to be the same anywhere in the U.S., it's going to be the same all over the world. We put a lot of effort, that's really our number one focus at the distillery is making every drop of Old No. 7 the same way. That is by far the number one priority that we have. And then that Old No. 7 grain bill, I mean, that, we talk about things like Coy Hill, like 12-year-old Tennessee whiskey, that is Old No. 7. Same exact recipe, same exact process. We did the bottle and bond release a few years ago. And so our Jack Daniel's Bonded Tennessee whiskey, we launched that in 2022. It was named #1 whiskey of the world by Whiskey Advocate magazine that year. That's the same recipe that won 7 international gold medals as best whiskey in the world. And we won our 8th back in 2022 from Whiskey Advocate as the best whiskey release in the world of any category of whiskey. And so that speaks to what Mr. Jack and his team got right, 150-something years ago. So, we're really proud of that. But if that's not enough reason, to pick up a bottle of Jack Daniel's, we want to have something for everybody. We want to have something for, somebody that doesn't even consider themselves a whiskey drinker. We hope you find something with Jack Daniel's, whether it's a bottle of Tennessee honey or whatever it is, and you get that little finish of Tennessee whiskey on the back of the throat, after the honey and the rich molasses and everything that's in it. And we want, barrel-proof single barrels out there, or 12-year-old whiskeys that are for people that love, classic traditional American whiskey flavor. And so we want to have a bottle for everybody. And, whiskey's about, bringing people together. I was talking to some folks last night, some musicians and some people down from Nashville, and, in a way, you look at what these great artists do up in Nashville that bring people together, all right, over music. Well, he even told me, he said, yeah, you're a big music fan, and I am. Admittedly, I love music. I love to play music, and he said, you make whiskey, and he said, we go out on the road and we make music, and guess what? I got your whiskey with me too. So I think that's what it's all about.
Wow, what an answer. What an answer. Let that sink in. You know, he puts things so well. The same recipe Jack made won Whiskey of the Year 2022. Yeah. But I think I will have to give him a little bit more credit on that one. I mean, come on. The master distiller.
Yeah.
Now, you had talked about chemistry, and for those of you that don't know, his grandfather, Frank Bobo, he had a chemistry degree as well, right?
Yes, he did.
How much of a part do you think chemistry is whiskey, if not all of it, some of it, or where do you think that role really plays? Because, you know, some folks think of whiskey as that guy I know out in the woods that's got this steel, but there's a lot going on, and we're a lot different than that fella, so where does chemistry really play, I guess, strongly in that?
You know, I think an understanding of what you're trying to do at a very basic, fundamental level is always good. Not that you have to be a chemist at all to be a distiller, and you don't go to college and learn distilling really. You know, if you're a chemistry student or an engineering student, but I do think a technical or science background does kind of help you just kind of wrap your head around the operation like we have today. I mean, you know, a day in our distillery, you know, we're going to take over 1 million pounds of grain and turn that into 150,000 gallons of liquid whiskey, basically.
Wow.
So, you know, there's a lot of science behind it. But then if we kind of, back up and take it another step further, you know, we're taking grain, water, and wood to make whiskey. That's it. And so, you know, obviously there could be variation. There could be variation a little bit in the oak. There could be variation between seasons of growing corn or whatever it is. And it's our job to then take those natural ingredients and make consistent quality whiskey out of it. And, you know, that's where, you know, chemistry certainly can help, but then there's also very much an art behind it. And especially when you start talking about doing things at a barrel proof or extending the age of something to really kind of drop nuance and flavor into it. You know, the science behind it might be the guardrails, right? But the art is really what's doing the driving, right? And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter other than what it tastes like, right? That's the most important thing, bottom line.
That's true. And does anybody like what it tastes like under this tent?
Yeah!
Yeah, me too. Me too. That's awesome. Yeah, when you talk about the depth of chemistry, and then you just said grain, water, yeast, and a barrel, I could probably pass that chemistry test, but there is so much more to it. I love talking to you, and at times I do tell people on tour that one of the first conversations I had with you, I did lie to you, because I asked about fermentation, and you started talking about the enzymatic process of the 4-year-old barley that cuts like a scissor, and I started lying. I started saying, yeah, I got it. I understand. So yeah, this guy's great when it comes to that. So, you know, Jack is a big family. We got family here, right? Yeah. He didn't want me to do it, but my 2 little boys are right here. My family's right here,
right.
Stuffing their face.
Go Vols.
Go Vols. Yeah. Family's huge. And I know that, you know, obviously your grandfather was a master distiller here. Your wife, Ashley, she works here. And y'all got a sweet little boy. Maybe not as cool as mine, I don't know. But what would you say if he wanted to work at the distillery? What kind of advice or what would you want to see him doing? Or would you say, you know, maybe don't ever be a tour guide because you'd end up like a goober like John? Or...
No, you know, I think, you know, there's something so special about our distillery and the people that make our whiskey. And so, you know, you said, you know, you started that question with family. And I know you all, Squires, and you are the extended family of Lynchburg, Tennessee, 100%. No doubt about it. And, you know, you literally walk into our main bottling building right down the street here, and in big letters right across the hallway, it says, you know, this is the Jack Daniels family. You're coming to work every day with our Jack Daniels family. And quite literally, I think something like 2/3 of all of our employees are related to another employee here. So it is literally the truth. But even for that, you know, 30% that aren't actually related to others, I think they would tell you that, you know, there's something so special about a small town in Middle Tennessee. We're in the 2nd smallest county in the state of Tennessee. I mean, we're number 94 out of 95 counties. It's a small place. But we send a little piece of this place all over the world, right? And so, the pride that these families in Lynchburg, certainly my family, but countless other families, to know that we're putting a little piece of us and our hard work every single day in a bottle, and people are enjoying that all over the planet. I think if my son wants to be a part of that, that's fantastic. I mean, obviously, as a dad, and I think any dad would say, we just want our kids to be happy and healthy and you know, do what fills them up.
And go for the Vols.
Yeah, obviously. Be a Vols fan for sure.
I will
as
warn
painful
you.
as they can be sometimes. But.
Yeah, there are some roll tiders out here. I just want to warn you.
I get. Question? Can you give him a mic?
You want to ask a question?
I don't want to ask a question.
Flipping the bottles in the secondary market is just really rough. Do you think Jack Daniels will put out a statewide bottle like they used to for real collectors that can get them? All right, can you hear me? Okay. I don't want to put you in a spot because I know you're not even marketing, but you think Jack Daniels will put out a statewide bottle again like they used to, where people can actually get them and not have to fight over it? Like the scenery bottles, the scenery.
You got a question?
Oh, the Scenes of Lynchburg bottles.
I'll ask. When do you think the 14-year will come out?
Yeah. Secondary market. Yeah. Right. Well, great question. Some of the innovative stuff that we've done has been more limited.
Ask about it.
But, we usually send out, several thousand cases across the country. So, for instance, the Coy Hill special release we just did was 30,000 cases. And it went nationwide, so all 50 states got some of that. Now, how that gets broken down, I don't know. I can't control it. And I certainly can't control what's happening with the secondary market. We can't even control what's happening at the retail level. I can tell you, we're expecting that bottle to sell retail for $80. That's the suggested retail price that we put on it. But can't control that. You asked about the Scenes of Lynchburg bottles and some of the bigger, releases that we did.
Should I mention that?
That really was not innovation.
Yeah.
That was old number 7 whiskey. The whiskey was not different. I mean, maybe a 3% ABV difference, that would be all. But for, a unique label and stuff. So one of the things that we've started doing with our partnership with McLaren was we've kind of restarted that with that McLaren release. So the old number 7 style bottle in that McLaren package, that should be going now nationwide. I think the first year we did it, it was only in markets that had a Formula One race, so Texas, Las Vegas, maybe Miami. However, we're going to start taking that more broadly to make that more available. So yes, that is something that we'll continue to try to do to get more limited offerings out there. Thanks.
All right, hey, great guy. He said, yeah, we can ask some questions. I love it.
Awesome. All right. Hey, everyone. Devin with the Whiskey Sippers on YouTube. I know that the TTB announced that the 14 years coming out. I just want to know what the process and the thought that went into that one came out and what the proof would be on that one.
So, yeah, the proof, what the thought process, the 14-year might be coming out.
Yeah, that's right. So we do have barrels now, certainly over 14 years old. We're excited to do that. That is the next statement that Jack did back when he was alive, and so that will be the next one that comes. So batch 1 of 14 will hit early next year sometime, along with the next batch of 10 and 12-year-old. The process is very similar to what we have done with the previous age-stated releases. So typically we look at lots of barrels, so several hundred barrels together that are in upper floors in a single barrel location. Once they get around 8 years old, we'll lower it down to a bottom floor to slow everything down and number one, save the whiskey that is left in that barrel, and then also slow down the extraction from the barrel into the whiskey. It will be a barrel strength offering. It will not be a crazy high proof because it's been on the bottom floor for the last 6 years, right? And so on the lower floor of a warehouse, the proof drops. So if it had risen, let's say in those first 8 years to 130, 135, it's gonna definitely have dropped from that. Excuse me. And they're after 6 years on the bottom floor.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. I like to say, like, when you move them down, top floor, hot, deep, dark, cold.
Still like probably like high teens.
Yeah, I cannot wait for that.
Do you approve, sir?
Yep, absolutely.
Easy on the brakes. Yeah, see, I'm doing things. There we go. Cool. You know, in closing, look, this guy, he's got to get down to the park. There's something going on down there. I don't know. I think there's like a guy with a smoker. I'm not for sure. But he's got to get down there and do some things. So this is a fun one for me because I was thinking about this the other day. Whiskey statements, they're so long. What we are doing today, we won't see on the shelf for 4 or 5 years. Where do you see, once me and you are probably dead and gone, Jack Daniel in, say, 100 years? Where would you see it, like to see it that far out?
Yeah, I think it's that's a great question. I don't know about dead and gone if I've thought that far yet, John. Hopefully that's a long way away.
Yeah, I got dark.
You know, but I certainly think, you know, master distillers' tenures are usually around 20 years. You know, I'm 4 years into that. You know, I don't know how long I'll work. I love what I do, so I hope a long time, as long as I'll have it. But I think for us, you know, I think the future is going to become, you know, I think the innovation is going to continue to grow. So I know a lot of it has been difficult to get your hands on. I think you'll see more of that. We will make larger batches of that. You just can't go back and make more 14-year-old whiskey at this point. You know, our hands are tied, and so it's either, you know, blended into Old No. 7, which was fine, or we can get out a limited amount of 14-year-old whiskey. So I think, you know, we're going to continue to see that for sure. You know, you're going to see us, you know, create what I think will be, you know, at least the easiest to get age-stated whiskey, you know, within the American whiskey world. Because, you know, in a few years, once we get 18 out, you know, I would love to create a 21-year-old like Jack did. You know, no promises, but we're gonna try our best. You know, we will have a global release age-stated series that is just phenomenal. It will be all over the globe. And then you look at our single barrel lineup, you know, with our classic Tennessee whiskey, you know, at a barrel proof strength and the 94 proof select, rye whiskey the same way. We've got our special release innovation that we do every year. We will probably look to add more expressions into our single barrel lineup. So we want to have the ultimate expression of single barrel whiskeys in American whiskey, period. And I think now, if you even stop and look at what we have with you know, the 4 permanent offerings, with the special release that we do every single year, you know, the variation in that. For people that love single barrel whiskeys, I mean, that is a heck of a collection of single barrel whiskeys. But, you know, you'll continue to see us do other things. You know, our flavor innovation will continue. Our partnership with Coca-Cola, you know, with Jack and Coke will continue to grow globally. And so, you know, to me, it kind of gets back to how we answered the question a few minutes ago. You know, I want our whiskey to bring people together and enjoy, just like you guys are doing right now with family and friends. And, you know, we take a lot of pride in being able to do that maybe all over the world and you know, allowing people to kind of, you know, have social time with their friends, their family, and enjoy a drink, right? And so that's really why we do what we do in Lynchburg. And so I think that's ultimately what we're going to do. And we'll do it in a lot of different ways. But we'll continue to keep innovating and keep growing and keep getting Jack Daniels all across the world.
That's so cool. So well put. Let's hear it from Mr. Chris.
Yeah!
Thank you. Thank you guys very much. I hope you have a great day in Lynchburg. Welcome back. Come back as often as you can. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One more big round of applause. This is the Master Distiller, folks. All right. Thank you, sir.